for more than 30 years. My pony collection has 1,770 My Little Ponies in it.
Wow.
So, I'm actually qualified to be here right now. Believe it or not. So, you guys excited for this? I've been kind of waiting for this for a year. So, without further ado, I'd like to call up to the stage the creator of My Little Pony, Bonnie Zachary. The creator of the 4th generation of My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic, Lauren Faust. Well, thank you ladies for joining us in California. No, Lauren, you didn't travel that far. No.
In the neighborhood.
Yes, in the neighborhood. So, have you guys met before today?
Not before today, no.
Wow.
Yeah, the meeting backstage, it was actually pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie. That was pretty sweet.
Tears were shed. From me.
That's true.
Just
Overwhelmed. Still is.
So ladies, there are quite a number of people in this room that would attribute God or goddess status to each of you. So what do each of you think about that? You want to start, Bonnie?
I'm still in disbelief. I had no idea when I drew those little ponies 33 years ago, maybe even longer than that they would still be alive. Really. That they would get past the review stage, that they would even come to market, and let alone to be a great show, and that I would be here today, thanks to you.
Oh, well, and I wouldn't be here today. Thanks to you. It's just a constant state of awe and disbelief that the show is and the brand is blown up the way it has. Just completely unexpected.
Really well.
Yeah. And awesome.
Still is.
It is amazing. Y'all wouldn't be here today if it weren't for the two of you. So let's go. Go ahead.
I was going to say, and a lot of other people too, because one person doesn't do it alone.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Well, let's go way back. A question for both of you.
That would be for me. Yes?
Were you an artistic child?
Bonnie, why don't we, when you answer a question for both of us, let's just say Bonnie.
I go first because I was there first. Yes, as a matter of fact, in kindergarten, my kindergarten teacher said I was a good colorer and a good artist. Beat that.
I think I might be able to beat it. I started when I was around 3. But I had an older brother who was already showing artistic promise, and I was competitive. So when he sat down to draw, I sat down to draw. And then my youngest brother, he also sat down to draw, and my mom had 3 artists. But yeah.
She's happy about that.
She is.
Good,
She's very
good.
proud. yeah, just never stopped. It was like, there was a love for it, and then, of course, you know, when teachers and parents and friends tell you you're good at it, that feels really good, so you keep going.
You do. That's what keeps you going. It's
Absolutely.
true. And I had a younger brother who tried to be an artist, and I squelched it. No, it's not as good. And my mother kept his things and didn't keep mine. I'm like, not really. I think she was just trying to make me feel good.
Oh, that's what a mom does.
Yes, that's true.
So tell us about where each of you went to college, and then what was your first job out of college?
Well, I went to Syracuse University in upstate New York. It's really cold, and snowy, and you have to stay in and, you know, do your work. And, but I enjoyed it. It was, for me, a good thing because I wanted to go into art, but I wanted to have the whole college, you know, football games and parties, which I did up there. But when I got out of school, and I majored in illustration and advertising design. And I didn't really have any idea of what I was going to do. I wanted to be an illustrator. And I thought probably I would illustrate children's books because that was kind of my style. My first job was in Boston area. Go Boston. I was working for Rustcraft greeting cards, where you use a little humorous kind of, not really juvenile, but funny kind of illustration. Then when I was working there, I wasn't making much money, which is something that a lot of artists have in common. So I was moonlighting at the time for Hasbro. And I would go down after work, and the guy would pick up my stuff, and he said, you know, if you ever get tired of doing greeting cards, come on down and we'll give you a job. So Rustcraft was being bought by Ziff Davis Publishing and melted into Norcross, and they said, oh, things will be fine, don't worry about it. You know, you'll all have jobs. And my boss and his boss were leaving, and I thought, oh yeah. Handwriting is on the wall, so I left and went to work for Housewell. And they had no idea what I would do, probably labels, you know, something very exciting. But they threw me into R&D, which was great. I mean, that's a dream job.
Yeah,
it really
how
is.
old were you at the time? Or the late 70s?
At Hasbro.
Yeah.
It was, I remember the tall ships and... Not that far, guys, not that far.
The 1670s?
It was the bicentennial.
Yes.
You were probably 80.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
Yeah, well, anyway, I remember 1976. But I don't remember how old I was, but old enough.
Old enough.
And so that's where I worked on Pony for many years. And then, again, because I wasn't getting paid very much, here we go again, I found my dream job at Parker Brothers. It was like a country club. It was beautiful. You look out the cafeteria, and it was like the fourth green, and there were, you know, ponds and beautiful flowers and gentlemen who dressed really nicely and treated you like a lady. And it was a wonderful job, and they paid me very well to play games all day long.
Yep.
And believe it or not, I left on my own because I wasn't fulfilled. I wasn't doing anything. I'm not really a game designer. But so then I went on my own. And that's, sorry, I don't leave much room for you. You probably are just starting out, aren't you? Oh,
Oh.
No. Let's see. I grew up on the East Coast. I grew up near Annapolis, Maryland. And I went to California Institute of the Arts. arts around here, Valencia, California, when I was 18. And I was very lucky. A teacher of mine offered me my first job in my junior year, so I left school to be...
You must have been very good.
But you know, it's not unusual for some reason at Cal Arts. A lot of kids get plucked out of school before they
Not
graduate.
me. They didn't even want me when I was a graduate. Go figure.
But my teacher offered me, or encouraged me to apply for a position at a studio that no longer exists called Turner Feature Animation to animate, which was my dream job, on a movie called Cats Don't Dance. Yeah, so that was where I got my start.
And that was it?
No, well, I went on. I went on.
History.
I was an animator, like literally back in the olden days when people put paper between their fingers before computers. I was an animator for about 6 years. I worked on another movie called The Iron Giant. And then the industry started to change around that time after that movie, and CG was on the rise and 2D was on the decline. And I still wanted to draw, so like all my animator friends were learning Maya, learning how to animate on the computer, and I looked into switching into storyboarding, got a job on a show called The Powerpuff Girls. Storyboarded on that show, met my husband, Craig McCracken, and found that as a storyboarder, you know, it was a really excellent opportunity on Powerpuff Girls because they run their shows, the artists write their episodes, so the writing staff gives us kind of an outline, like here's the basic idea of how the story's going to work, and then the storyboarders got to write it, and I found that I liked to write my stories with words first, and then I drew it, so that, you know, I moved on to writing scripts from there, which was a surprise for me because I wanted to draw.
And it's all up here.
It is. Well, you just write what you would be drawing on the panel, and it's your visual thinker, so you just write the visuals. My husband and I went on to produce a show together on Cartoon Network called Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. And I did a lot on that show. I co-produced it. I was the head of story. I wrote a lot of the episodes actually, and supervised the storyboarding staff. And then after that, I did my little foray into toys, which didn't work out so well for me. I have a line of dolls in F.A. Schwartz called Milky Way and the Galaxy Girls. It didn't do so great, unfortunately. The dolls came out the year the economy crashed, so nobody was going to buy a $50 doll that Christmas. Yeah.
Can't plan for that.
Yeah. So, but the thing that was great about Milky Way and the Galaxy Girls was that when I went to pitch it to Hasbro, they said, yeah, we really like that, but do you want to do My Little Pony? Yeah. And it was my favorite toy when I was a kid. Absolute favorite. No Barbies. I like Strawberry Shortcake, but Pony was the best. So I tested the waters out, and then I went on to create My Little Pony. Friendship is Magic. So yeah, we did the show first, and then they created the G4 toy line based off of the artwork that we were doing on the show. Yeah, and since then, I worked on my husband's new show, Wander Over Yonder. And now I'm developing and am set to direct a movie for Sony Pictures Animation called Medusa.
Out of the way.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I Sure.
That's okay. As long as it's successful, that's what matters.
So Bonnie, let's go back again. And what inspired you to create My Little Pony in the first place?
Well, in fact, my father was a veterinarian and a career officer in the Army. And we lived in Japan for a short time. Where is the Japanese contingent? There's one here, believe it or not.
Yeah, Japan Pony Club guys
Yeah,
are there.
Anyway, so it was really kennels for where, all the animals were quarantined, coming and going out of Japan. There was a Korean pack pony named Knicker, and because my father was in charge of the place, I got to ride her, him, whatever it was. Kind of like pony, no gender except. But anyway, and I always wanted a pony of my own, or really a horse when I got older. But I never got one. Because by the time we retired from the Army, my father retired, and we had our so-called dream house in the country. I was in high school, and we lived far, far away from anyone, and I never, got a chance to have my horse. So when I went to work for Hasbro, I thought, what toys did I play with? I didn't play with dolls like you. I wasn't into that. And all I ever wanted was a horse. So I created a line of small horses that were doll-like, and I pushed them and presented them for years. And
How many years did it take?
well, I pushed it for I think 3 years. It was turned down for 3 years. Then there was a year in between where I kind of gave up. And
What did your bosses say? What was the reason why?
I know this story. My boss said, Bonnie, little girls are not like you. They like to cook and clean and iron. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. But the next year, amazingly, he came out with a very similar product. See, when you are in the business, you go through a lot of steps. You present to your own. I presented to R&D, and if it doesn't get beyond R&D, marketing doesn't see it. But anyway, his idea was to make a big pony made out of styrene, which I hate. It's clunky and it's brittle and it's not fun. And it had a winking eye and tail and whatever. And little girls were supposed to take this to bed and cuddle with it. Well, really, and here and there. It wasn't a good idea. But his boss, the marketing director, took it home to his wife, a wise woman, who said, yeah, this is nice, but little girls like soft and cuddly things. Shrink it down about this big, make it soft and cuddly, and the combable tail and mane, and it'll be played with like a doll. So he came to me and he said, Bonnie, don't change a thing, just shrink it down, don't even move a hoof, same thing. And so that's what I did, and
Now we have
it
My Little
worked.
Pony.
Yeah.
I'm really glad that the folks at Hasbro came to their senses. For Lauren, did you experience similar kinds of sexism or expectations when creating content for young females?
Oh God, constantly. I still do. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. I had thought after I worked on Powerpuff Girls, my husband and I both thought that was proof. That was proof that content for girls could be successful, could be profitable, and that you could step away from the stereotypes.
Right.
And we were shocked that, just a year after My Little Pony was finished with its final season, there was like a mandate from people up above, no girl shows, no girl shows. And I've pitched several shows that I constantly get the comments, we like it and it's great, but we don't think girl shows will sell, or we already have one girl show and that's enough for us. That's what happened to Super Best Friends Forever. Yeah. So it still happens. We still get a lot of debates over what girls are and aren't interested in. I remember with Pony, there was a lot of debate over whether or not girls would like a character like Rainbow Dash. That she was too boyish, she was too tough, she was too, and my answer to them was like, we've got Rarity and Pinkie Pie and Fluttershy, the girls who like the very girly stuff, which is great and wonderful, they've got 3 characters, but what about the other little girls? Who do they get to stick with? So it unfortunately it continues to this day. Debates over whether or not content with girls will be profitable is still a question, even after what Frozen just did last year, breaking all those records. There's still like, why are we making movies about girls? It's when's it gonna stop? So yeah. Soon, hopefully.
So, did they ever tell you to make Fluttershy like iron or vacuum or anything?
No, thank goodness I never got that.
We have progressed a little bit.
Yes. We never got that. I think one of the most memorable ones I got on Friendship is Magic was, I got a note when we wrote the ending to the 2nd episode of the Ticketmaster that they wanted, and I don't remember if it came from the Hub or from Hasbro, but they wanted all the girls at the end of the episode to apologize to Twilight for being selfish. Twilight had 2 tickets to go to a ball, and she couldn't decide which one of her friends to give it to, and they all were kind of campaigning for that ticket, and they all had kind of really important personal reasons to get it. And at the end of it, Twilight had a little breakdown, she succumbed under the stress, and they wanted me to have all the other 5 characters apologize. Not just apologize, but apologize for being selfish. And I said, and to their credit, they listened to me. I said, would you tell a girl in high school that she shouldn't apply for a scholarship because there's other girls who want that scholarship? Woo! And they backed down immediately. I made an excellent point. They all apologized for pressuring her, because it's important that girls apologize for something.
Always apologize.
Yes, but so those types of things come up, and while they didn't ask me to make a homemaker pony or an ironing pony, it might have been funny. Step iron on her butt, she loves to iron. And though I never got any of that stuff, I get the other things. Another one was in Fall Weather Friends. They didn't want Rainbow Dash calling Twilight a nerd, so we had to call her an egghead. Somehow that was a little. But there was originally, they felt really sorry for Twilight, and they wanted her to not look sad when she was being called names. Yeah, and I said, well, kids are going to go out into the world, and they're going to meet other kids who are going to call them names. Let's make Twilight be a good example of what you should do, which was to not stoop to her level, but not tolerate it either. Instead of just, there was a version in the storyboards where Twilight was just standing there with this big dumb smile on her face while Rainbow Dash was insulting her, and I made them change it back.
Haven't we all done that anyway?
So.
Lauren, I've always wondered is which came first, the original 6 G1 ponies that you liked, or there being 6 girl archetypes? Which was put onto the other?
I would say that the characters came first, because when I was developing the show, I started with the characters, and I went to the ponies I played with when I was little, and pulled out the ones that meant the most to me. The ones that I played with the most, the ones, and kind of analyzed the personalities that I gave them when I was a kid. And my very original pitch was with all the characters as an 80s pony, a G1 version of each of them. And as I was developing them, I kind of realized that they were all just skewing towards these archetypes, and that I decided to shine a spotlight on those archetypes even more, and you know, where I started with the ponies I played with when I was a kid and the personalities I gave them, I expanded on that with those archetypes in mind.
So those are your favorite 6?
They were, well, no, you know, one of my second favorite pony didn't quite make the mix.
Who was your second favorite pony?
Okay, so I think probably a lot of you know my favorite is Firefly. But my second favorite was actually Seashell.
So for those of you in the audience who don't know, Seashell is a G1 pony in a very rare pose where she's sitting down on her back legs. So she's kind of like a sitting pony. And how in your childhood stories did a pony with sitting back legs and is stuck that way come into play?
Well, I think she was my favorite because of her color combination. I just purple and green. But when I was playing with her and her counterpart Bubbles, the other sitting pony, I don't know what inspired me to do this, but I actually made them handicapped. And that's how I played with them. Yeah, so like they just, you know, they couldn't use their back legs, but you know, they were still part of the gang and part of the group. And like I said, Seashell was my favorite, so she was always in a starring role in all of my adventures.
Firefly would always play with Seashell?
What's that?
Firefly would always play with Seashell?
Oh, totally.
Why not?
Now,
Why not?
did Seashell's handicap, I'll call it, did that come into play at all with why Scootaloo can't fly?
Maybe subconsciously, but not purposefully. No, I think when I was developing the Cutie Mark Crusaders and I was trying to, you know, I already had 2 Pegasus, and originally Apple Bloom was alone in her quest for Cutie Mark, and Hasbro asked me to include Sweetie Belle and Scootaloo, and I was trying to figure out their issues, their characters, and they're all shooting for their Cutie Mark. They're all trying to find who they are, and Scootaloo, I thought it would be cute to be a girl who's like a late bloomer. You know, was the first thought. She's just a late bloomer. The other little Pegasus can fly, and she can't, and she just wants to fly. And the more I developed it out, the more I thought about it. I just thought, in a weird sort of way, it would be kind of beautiful if she didn't ever get to fly, because everybody has dreams. You know, everybody has a multitude of dreams that they have in their life, and we don't get all of them. You know, and to show a character, you know, who doesn't get that dream and how she deals with it and how she finds happiness in other places, I thought could be a really beautiful story.
For Bonnie, 6 ponies seems to be some sort of a magic number. So how did My Pretty Pony then become 6 My Little Ponies?
Well, in the toy business, everything is collectible. Does that ring true? Yes.
Yes.
Didn't it work?
Yes, it did. It did on me.
Me too. Badly.
I think you can all relate to that. Anyway,
So did you,
short answer.
did you design those 6 though?
I designed those 6, but as I was told to do, you know, when you work for a company, you have to do what they tell you or else they don't pay you. Simple as that. But they were all exactly the same as the original My Pretty Pony, which was a Palomino, and just shrunk down. And the colors came about when my friend, who is marketing director, whatever, girls' toys at the time. Maybe there weren't even girls' toys, I'm not sure. But she said, Bonnie, what do you think of pink and purple? I said, get out of my office. Well, little girls like pink and purple. I said, I don't care. She was a friend of mine. I wouldn't have done that to my boss. But I had originally, I was a preschool toy designer. And in preschool, really, it wasn't girls or boys. And despite what you think, toy designers don't say, pink is for girls and blue is for boys and blah, 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 and trucks are for boys and whatever. And never the twain shall. She said, well, why don't we test it? I said, go ahead. And the rest, as they say, is history.
This is for both of you. How often does the marketing department interfere with your artistic vision?
It's always a good answer. Pretty much. Did you ever see Big? Yeah. That wasn't so far off. All these adults telling a kid, in essence, what they should be doing, what they should like, what they shouldn't like, how they should play, how they shouldn't play. When I was at Hasbro, our one edict, they have all these bromides. Space does not sell. Star Wars came out.
Yeah.
Did they interfere that much with you?
It's surprising. I've been mostly lucky in animation. You get a lot of development executives will come in and give their opinions about stuff, let you to deal with them more, but their goals are to get people to watch the show. It's marketing a little bit less. In fact, My Little Pony was probably the thing I had to deal with marketing the most. Because there was a product, yes.
Right.
So we were developing a show, but that also had to make toys that sold. The season 1 wasn't too bad. They decided they wanted to make a hot air balloon, and I had to find a place for it. But a couple of other things like that. But they were pretty good, actually, about letting me figure out where it needed to go. At least in season 1. It's not so much, but I also kind of go out of my way to try to work for places that aren't guided by that. After My Little Pony, I got offered a lot of jobs in more licensing kind of things, and that was always an issue. I'm like, well, maybe this makes a really great image on a box, but it doesn't necessarily make a good TV show. I think I'm quite sure I got it a lot less than you.
And I shouldn't be too hard on them. I mean, they're trying to make money and they want to be successful. But everyone thinks they know. I mean, I thought I knew that, Palominos and devil grays were the way to go. Well, I guess I was wrong.
That's probably what worked too. That would have worked on me too.
So what was the process like, Bonnie, back in the 70s and 80s, with working with the 3D sculptors and the other toy designers? At what point in the process were you, and then what happened after that?
Well, it's pretty amazing. I teach school and I teach art, and, they say, well, how do you design a toy? I said, I just drew it. And then you give it to a sculptor, and, they have to take your drawing and figure out what it looks like in every conceivable situation, back, rear, upper, lower, from the side, 3/4. And I don't do detailed drawings, I don't know if you do. But I didn't like that much. So you have to have a sculptor that can see your vision and knows better than you what it looks like in 3 dimension. And I have some good sculptors. Then you have engineers who tell you, well, it can't be pulled, and you have to have this, and there's undercuts here, and moldability, and all sorts of issues. Oops, she's going fast.
Yeah, no kidding.
But, you know, there's nothing like dealing with other creative people. I mean, it's so much fun working in toys and in games. We just had a blast all the time. We really did have fun. I bet you had fun too.
Yes. It's all big.
Lauren, how much did you work with the Hasbro toy designers in creating Generation 4, the toys?
Not too much, I have to admit. The initial drawings that I did for the production Bible when I pitched the show was really all they had to go off of at first. They sent me some like prototype sculpts based off of that I thought were pretty good, except for the front, the eyes were a little too far apart. I actually think those sculpts ended up being the Funko sculpts. Yeah, they certainly look like them. I love those, by the way. But I did have to do when we started production. I had to do a turn of the basic pony body, and that's when I brought out my old animating skills. Put the paper between the fingers and tried to make sure that all the volumes moved in this.
She knows about this more than I do.
So, and the toys, the initial toys that came out, the combable hair and stuff, were different than those original sculpts. But to be perfectly honest, they didn't consult with me that much on it. And that was fine by me. I was really busy on the show.
And you weren't working for them.
No, yeah, exactly.
Big difference, because they can just come into your office and say,
The only thing they actually changed was the original designs, like their hooves and the top of their ears came to like corners, like nice solid corners, and for some reason they just thought those needed to be round. And I was like, okay.
Perhaps child safety?
What?
Child safety?
Maybe. You know, honest to God, I think they might have said that sharp corners are for boys. And I'm not even kidding. They just felt like it's aggressive and it's assertive and it needs to be like soft. Okay.
So this question is for both of you, and if you could go back and change one thing about those 6 toys, what would it be, if anything?
well, you know, I was told to make them static, and they were so static, you know, they're like...
They just stand there.
No, they just stand there, but like little statues. And, you know, and they didn't have any personalities. I named them because of their colors and the...
Did you name them?
I think I did.
Awesome.
Don't ask me what they are now.
I know.
You collectors know way more than I do about what I did, really. But, what was the question?
What did you change?
Oh, change. I have said this before, I wanted them to be posable, or at least in a pose, not just like that. Like the Trojan horse, that was not that. I would have liked them to have been more animated. She did that.
I think for me, the toys, and I'll just talk about the first ones that came out, was the Rainbow Dash's figurines, her eye. I mean, it sounds so specific, but you know, because Rainbow Dash was our tomboy, for lack of a better term. You know, there's subtle differences in each of the main cast's design, and Rainbow Dash had a more dynamic eye. She had that really wide open eyeball, and her eyelashes, 3 little eyelashes, were perfectly straight. They weren't curved or curled, just to make it a little more dynamic and actually, honest to God, a little more aggressive. And I do remember talking with someone about that it was too aggressive, and they gave her a very soft little S-curve kind of half lid to just make her, they said, you know, softer, so girls would like her better, and I'm like, that's not her personality, that's not who she is, so that's my one little thing. And then, you know, and then I have like regular complaints, like I don't like ponies driving cars. You know?
Doesn't make sense.
So, like, there's a few things that I thought kind of maybe skewed, especially in the early years when the show first came out, that kind of skewed away from the rules of the world building, and cars in particular really bothered me.
Trains are okay?
Not really. They don't need trains. They're horses.
Both of you have in common that you put something in motion and then relatively quickly stepped away. You know, Bonnie, you weren't working for Hasbro anymore when My Little Pony was in the stores. So how do each of you feel about seeing something that you got the ball rolling on continue to be so successful?
Darn! I worked at Hasbro for 5 years. Did I ever have a big hit? No. I did redesign Mr. Potato Head. And I thought that would be my claim to fame.
It's pretty good.
I think I was wrong. And Alan Hassenfeld came up to me as I was leaving Hasbro to go to the country club, and he said, "Bonnie, you never know, Pony might make it." You know, I'm like, yeah. And I didn't get anything out of it. I didn't get a promotion. I got $1 to sign the patent away so that they owned it. That and other considerations, which was my salary. So they didn't pay me. But really, darn.
My answer's a little different. I have a lot of mixed feelings, and I think, I've mentioned it in interviews before, so many of you may have heard this before. I love that shows lived on, and more than anything, I love the effect that it's had on so many people, and it means more to me than anything. And I'm eternally grateful and happy for that, but on the other hand, I am sad, because I left because I had a vision of how I wanted the stories to go and what I wanted these characters to do, and it just, for a number of reasons, it just became impossible for me to continue with this vision that I had, and it wasn't worth it for me to stay. So there will always be a part of me that kind of mourns the stuff I didn't get to do that I wanted to do, and worries too that I'll never get the chance again. So it's a little bittersweet for me, I'll be honest.
Keep trying, keep going, keep doing wonderful.
Thank you.
And that is the lesson, to persevere.
Yeah.
And stick to your guns, that you want it to be done the right way.
Yeah, that was important to me, and it just became too impossible, and I didn't want to compromise.
I understand.
Thank you.
This question is for both of you, and what are you most proud of across your entire career thus far?
Most proud, I'm sorry, what?
What are you most proud of in your career so far?
This.
Beyond comprehension, I never would have dreamt that this would be possible.
And I should clarify, I don't mean the show. I'm very proud of the show, but I mean this.
Each of you have changed and touched each other's lives. Do you have anything to say to each other?
Oh, God. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to tear up again. I swear, but before the show even happened, I can't begin to tell you what this toy meant to me. I'm a creative person, and I'm a storyteller, and before I played with these toys.
And I agree with you. You took Pony so far beyond that little clunky toy. And that's why it is a great toy, because children have to add their own personalities and creativity to it. Really.
And it inspired me, and I'm the person I am because of those toys, because of you. So thank you.
Thank you, really.
Yes, I wonder if you could do me a favor, Bonnie. As your biggest fan, I was wondering if you would sign this for me. But I got this 15 years ago when eBay started. And I got one with a hat. The hair is a little messed up and one of the eyes is broken.
She's in great shape.
It's pretty good, right? So I was wondering if you could sign Cutie Mark style.
I'm gonna make you cry. Questions and Q&A.
Oh man.
The children get to go first. So, Laura over here has a wireless microphone. So let's take two kids. You get to her first with them. Or if there are no kids, then... Oh, here we go.
That'll be a waste of a question, right?
What's that?
That'll be a waste of a question, yeah.
You know, yeah, I mean, I've spoken to her.
Andrew, the mic.
Jake.
Kids first.
Okay, go ahead.
There we go.
All right, can we get your name and then your question?
Hi, my name is Lauren, and did you guys have any idea how big it would turn out to be?
You hold the mic a little closer to your mouth.
Did you have any idea how big My Little Pony would turn out to be?
First one.
Sure, I knew from the very beginning. That's a lot. I had no idea, of course, but I knew it was a good idea. I knew it. I knew I wasn't the only one.
I did not expect it, and honestly, I didn't expect it because I believed what everybody told me, that people wouldn't watch, nobody except for girls would watch a show for girls. So thank you all for restoring my faith in humanity.
And I have a letter for you.
A letter?
Oh, yeah, no worries.
Okay, one more question.
My name is Tessa, and I'm wondering what you're going to do with season 5.
Spoiler.
Oh, I'm so sorry, I'm the wrong person Yeah, I stopped working on the show after season 2, so I don't know what's going to happen.
Lots of good stuff.
Yeah. I think there might be some writers in the room who can help you with that.
I bet. Is that Larson?
Well, everyone, thank you so much for coming.
Oh yeah, there he is. Woo!